Mrinalini was cheating and she looking through my papers and I got beaten up for that.
Mrinalini was cheating. I didn't even need to cheat from your maths. I got a box of roses. I was like, wow, this is the first time I got roses from anyone.
Came from a conservative
Rubbish. Your
Punjabi
parents are never
family.
Conservative. They were not conservative, you're just lying away to them.
From my perspective, it was just about managing the show in terms of, just managing everyone's expectation.
But I think I got a bit of a shock when I moved to Delhi because I was like, my God, you were like very different here.
Hey, welcome to Love Rollercoaster. I am Gaurav Bhagat, also called GB.
I'm Mrinalini.
And we've been married for quite a long time. How long has it been now?
It's been 22 years, going on 23.
Wow, 22 years, going on 23. And while sometimes it seems like a lot, sometimes it feels like we only met just yesterday. So this is a podcast where we're going to talk about all things relationships. I mean, of course, relationships with each other, relationships with, what are the other things that we have lined up?
So anything about relationships, all kinds of relationships between married people, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with food.
Food's a big one for her, so yeah, food for sure.
Relationship with money,
Oh,
it's a big
that's
one
the
for
big
him.
one for me, yeah.
And relationships with your co-workers, with your siblings, with your parents, with your families, anything to do with relationships, this podcast is going to cover it. We were in school, class 6, met in the Lawrence School, Sanar. And I don't remember the first time I saw you, but I do remember sitting next to you at the dining table. And I found you really easy to talk to. And, we would, I think we sat at the dining table for about a month or maybe a month or two. And I was such a shy person then. I had no self-confidence.
I think we both actually were.
Yeah, and I was so out of my depth in school. And I found you really easy to talk to. And I remember we used to chat a lot. And you used to give me mangoes.
And just in case you're wondering, your child marriage nahi thi. I mean, we were attracted to each other when we were in the 6th grade. Both of us were 11 or 12 years old.
Yeah, not that.
Yeah, but we weren't really, we weren't really going out or anything like that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But what I do remember is that one time we were in class together and math class, right? And I remember because I came from, Columbus and I joined Sana in Columbus, we're really good, we're really intelligent people. And I'm in math class and then I get slapped up by Mrs. Kohli, who's our math teacher. Why? Because Mrinalini was cheating and she looking through my papers and I got beaten up for that.
Mrinalini was cheating. I didn't even need to cheat from your maths. I was good at maths in class 6. Why would I cheat from you?
Somehow
I got 9. It must have been somebody else and definitely wasn't me. Now you're projecting it onto me. Should have been a fiction writer, man. Like, seriously?
Somehow, I don't know. I mean,
It was
that's
not
one
me.
memory I have along with the mangoes.
The first time I got slapped was on day 2 of Sana. Like, literally, day 2 of joining this new school far away from my family. This one girl, who I will not name, was cheating from me during a maths test. We got a maths test on day 2 at that time, remember. These 2 guys who really did not like her, they complained to Mrs. Kohli and she came and smacked me. And I was like, wow, what a first introduction to school.
Okay. So I think maybe the same
think
person then. Because there is a coincidence because the same teacher slapped me as well.
Yes, and then you keep telling everybody that I'm the one who cheated from you.
Okay. Putting on record, now it's on camera. So it wasn't her who cheated from me. It was somebody else, this girl that none of us want to name, but we all know who it is. And in case you want to figure it out, catch up with us sometime later. But that's how it happened. Yeah. So prep school, 11 years old. And that's where it kind of all began, huh?
It didn't begin there.
As in,
I forgot about you in class 7. I think you forgot about me also in class. The 7th onwards, and then you left school.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, from junior school, you go to senior school. And then, of course, in senior school, the other priorities because...
the other girls.
Yeah. Or you're being beaten up all the time. So either ways, I think priorities change. And but yeah, then, of course, I did leave school and you stayed on. And I do remember then coming back after my 12th boards just to say hello to a few people. And you were one of them.
Yeah, but I hardly knew you then.
I know, but you were walking down, from the dining hall with another friend and we chatted. And I think I was in Kasoli and you came by and saw me the next day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think
introduced
fate just kept throwing us together many, many times, right?
Yeah. And then I think the reintroduction actually happened in 1997, 3 years after school, after college, where we came for our 150th founders. And I think that's where you developed an interest in me, and I was still okay.
Okay, seriously. Now, in case we can find a picture, I'm going to put the picture up. So think Megan Fox. Okay, and here there was a chick who looked like Megan Fox, right? And you're like, holy shit, every guy's running after her. I'm like,
Rubbish.
like that girl's got my attention. So, and again, I'll just share the pictures. So then you see the picture from the shoot at that time. And yeah, so of course, definitely the interest was there. I was chasing her friend Trisha for a phone number. And I think this is pre cell phone for many. So they didn't have cell phone numbers. But I still remember I get a number of her aunt. And I still remember it's 218-3672. And
I had
you see,
forgotten that.
right. And I said, okay, like I said, I'm going to
Oh
call
my
her
God.
sometime. And of course, one time I did go down to Bombay later. And yeah, I was very interested.
Yeah, I still remember I got a box of roses. I was like, wow, this is the first time I got roses from anyone. Yeah, 98.
Yeah. So,
I didn't know what
97,
to do with it.
98, and then I took a couple of trips down. And my friend Vishesh, I was staying with him. He was staying in car. And we went out one time and he's like, man, this is the girl for you. I'm like, really? And it was interesting. I definitely decided to, pursue that. You then got into Bloomberg. And I was struggling here at Consortium in Delhi, just coming to grips with a whole bunch of crises that were happening at the time.
Yeah, but to cut a long story short, we ended up in Kodaikanal for Millennium New Year, and things just happened there. When we had another 3 years of long distance relationship.
Yeah, the Kodaikanal story is interesting. So I had a choice, and there were two other friends. Again, I'm not going to name them, but two guys, and they said, we're going to Koh Samui. And I got a message from Mrinalini that she and her friend are going across, another girl are going across to Kodaikanal, and would you like to come? And I'm like, okay, two boys, in Koh Samui versus two girls in Kodi. I'm like, which one am I going to choose, right?
Yeah, but this was really funny. I still remember we were, I had access to the internet for the first time, and we had started, messaging each other. And I remember writing to you and asking you, so what are you doing for New Year's? And you were like, oh, I'm going to Koh Samui with some friends. And I was like, wow, not bad. And I was like, just, and you were like, what are you doing for New Year's? So I said, I still remember what I wrote you. I like, two geriatrics are going to Kodaikanal with their knitting needles. Want to come? And this want to come was a rhetorical question. It wasn't, I knew the guy was going somewhere else. So it's just like, want to come? Obviously, the guy's going to say no, right?
For a
And
guy
suddenly
say
I get
no,
a
like
response
seriously, like,
back.
think about that.
I get a response saying, yeah, sure. I'm looking at my computer. I'm going, oh my God, now what?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the best thing to have happened
Yeah.
to
And
me.
I think the seeds were really sown, right there and then. And yeah. So, and funnily, all these years later, our kids are studying in that same area. So quite unique.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I mean, I think by the time I met you, I was at a stage where I was like, I am done with guys. Because not that I had any relationships as such, but whatever my interactions were before it got to a relationship stage or anything like that, I mean, it was just so not comfortable. Like it was not nice. There was always, either, they were playing games, or some guy, is trying to just put you down. And in very subtle ways, like, oh, your friend is really nice, he has a nice voice, or just talking about everybody other than you, and then not showing up when you've called them for something to meet your friends, just not showing up. These really really weird things where
Sure.
they just don't make you feel good. And I was like, after, I mean, it wasn't even a relationship, it was just a friendship, which it was weird. But then I was like, okay, this guy, at that time, I didn't know the word toxic. But now I'm like, oh my God, it's so toxic.
Yeah.
And obviously, the guy had some issues of his own. As a result, needed to put somebody down to feel better about himself. And I was like, I want nothing to do with this. So I was just like, I cut off and I was like, I am done. I'm done. I think I'm just going to stay single forever. And then this happened. And I was like, I really was like done with men.
And it's interesting because that trip was probably not meant to happen, right? There was a crisis that we had at work. And Maruti had placed their first order, and it was absolutely messed up. And we needed a particular dye to make that particular piece. And it turns out that the only place that dye was available in was Bangalore, all right? And Bangalore was where we were landing to go to Kodi, right? The next thing I'm running short of cash, okay? And the only share that I had in the market in my portfolio at the time was Jamna Auto. And Jamna Auto, historically, check the prices, it just starts going through the roof. Okay, so whatever I had in Jamna Auto was enough. And my mom's like, oh, we don't have the money. I'm like, I'll just sell my Jamna Auto stock. So sold Jamna Auto, get down to Bangalore, do the dye work. So it was supposed to be a work trip. Of course, later when I came back and I shared photographs, they nearly died. But it was, yeah, I think it was just meant to be.
So you didn't tell them that you were coming to Kodaikanal?
I did, but I didn't tell them I was coming to meet you.
Oh my God, you got away with too much.
Yeah. Came from a conservative
What rubbish, your
Punjabi
parents are never
family.
conservative. Yeah. They were not conservative, you're just lying away to them. God.
So yeah.
When it's meant to be for you, when something is just meant to be for you, like everything will fall into place. It's like everything will fall into place. And it will make sure that you get to where you're supposed to be. And I guess we were just meant to be. Because I still remember we had, it was 1999 to Millennium New Year.
Correct.
It was the time where everybody had plans. And I remember booking my train ticket. And I was on RAC 1. I was on RAC 5. And there was no way that this RAC 5 was... And RAC is, reservation against...
Awaiting
confirmation. And as a result, you can get onto the train, but you have to stand the whole way, right? If you don't get a seat.
Bombay to Bangalore.
And that would have been a very uncomfortable journey. But I still remember speaking to my mom and she was like, okay, I'll tell you what. You see if you can pay one way, if you can get an air ticket one way, and I'll pay for your return. So I said, okay. So then I went downstairs to Mercury Travels and they were like, ma'am, everything is booked out. I was just looking at her going, something, anything. And she said, oh, wait, we just had a cancellation.
Crazy.
And I got my ticket, Sahara Airways.
And at this time, were you like a lowly paid intern or had you got confirmed?
I was a lowly paid intern earning $4,000 a month.
Okay, you're a lowly paid intern. I don't have enough money to make my way across and your cancellation happens. My stock runs up. So yeah, I think the stars were aligning.
We were just meant to be in Kodaikanal together.
Yeah. In case you're watching this and you're feeling like, "Bhai, ye to kuch zyada hi ho gaya." I mean, it's the truth, right? It's not made up. And in case your stuff isn't falling in place the same way, again, have the faith. You never know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, if it's meant to be, it'll be. If it's not meant to be, it won't be.
And people, even today, they look at us and they said, you two just make sense. I mean, we were in Chandigarh last week and a classmate met and we were just, chatting and, we're telling them how long we've been together. And they're like, it just made sense. But at that time, like, did it really? I think we both took a chance. We were in very different and difficult places in our lives in some form or way also. Yeah. But yeah, I think we just took a chance on it, right?
So tell me, like, what made you choose me? Like, what made you decide that, like, I was the one that you wanted to spend the rest of your life with?
Check the photo out, okay? And then tell me, like, what you have done, right? So, I mean...
Oh, my God.
Smoking hot, right?
But not at that time.
Of course.
That time I'd gained weight and I was like...
So, and anyways, like I said, you had... it was also about the mental side of you, right? I mean, you were just smart. You were different. I mean, I'd seen a lot of people here as well prior. So yeah, they weren't really the most stimulating of conversations. And I think what really did happen is the fact that, you were smart and you were intelligent. And yeah, and I think we just, connected. I think a lot of common shared, values and upbringing. And I think our parents kept us, pretty grounded and all of that. So I think a lot of those things were really there. And I mean, just look at her, right? Even today, I mean, funkily dressed. So she's the heart in the relationship. Okay, I'm like the more serious guy, the brains in the relationship. Not that I'm saying that she doesn't have the brains, but you know what I'm talking about, right? So she brings like a different perspective. And people who saw us together said, this just makes sense. And 25 saal baad abhi bhi bol rahe hain, this just makes sense. So take it, like, there's a God up above and we had our ups and downs, but yeah, we're still there. What did you see in me?
The main thing about you was that after all the guys I'd seen, the relationships I'd seen, the few people I had experienced, you just made me feel really good. It was really weird. I mean, it's not what you said, it's what you did. And you were just so sweet and you were so considerate. And you just made me feel really liked and wanted. And you calmed my nerves. You just like, I lost all ego. Like, I had a huge ego. And I
Right.
had a really huge ego. But with you, I didn't feel the need for it to come up. And that was the main thing. You made me feel so safe. You made me feel really good about myself.
Sure.
Like, you really made me feel comfortable. It was like a soul connect. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
Like, it's a feeling. Even now, it's a feeling. Like, even when I'm really angry with you, or when I'm upset about something you haven't done or you've done, or irritated, which nowadays doesn't happen so much. But even before, when I was at a stage where, when we were really going through some of our very challenging times, I never felt that I would be better off without you. I mean, I may have wanted to leave because
Sure.
whatever, but I have never actually felt that if I did leave, I would not be happy.
Get that. Yeah, and also setting in context that, and of course, the Millennium New Year happens. We come back to our respective cities. She's in Bombay, I'm in Delhi. It is a long distance relationship, that did happen for a while as well. And when we'd meet, it would just be, like one big honeymoon. But times apart, I mean, couldn't have been the easiest, right?
I mean, I was okay. I was quite happy in Bombay. We had a young crowd in office, and we would go. And the company at that time I was living in Electric House at a hostel in Kolaba, and those were actually my most carefree fun years, because there was nobody to ask me where I was going. I was independent. I was free. I was earning a good amount of money. And I was in a hostel, and the company had given us free memberships to the gym and the pool at the Taj and the Oberoi. And a whole bunch of us would go to the pool. And this was almost a daily thing for the last 2 months of my time like the last 1 year of my time in Bombay.
Right.
And it was great fun.
Yeah.
And it would be amazing, because when we did meet, it was all happy, happy, joy, joy. But I think I got a bit of a shock when I moved to Delhi, because I was like, my God, you were like very different here. And of course, moving to Delhi from Bombay is always a shock.
True that,
Because
yeah.
you're so relaxed and so chilled out in Bombay. You're not being judged. You're actually your own person. People are not staring at you in the streets and leering at you, which now it's a lot better in Delhi. But when I first came here in 2002, it was awful. I still remember standing outside PTI building where our Delhi office was initially. And we would just come out and stand on the veranda, just to take a break. And every guy, like every driver, would be like looking at you and staring at you, not for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, the entire time you were there.
True.
And everyone, it was very, very odd, and I felt very caged.
No, I appreciate the fact that you actually made the move, because, again, for people listening in, she did have the three nevers, and they were interesting three nevers, and I think those are kind of non-negotiables, but maybe as a good sales guy, so I talked her out of it. But you want to tell them about the three nevers?
All my three nevers came true. Actually, all four nevers. So my first never was never marry a Sanarian. Well, never move to Delhi. Never live with your in-laws. Living with my in-laws. And never work with your husband. I did for 3 years. I was like, all the nevers came true.
Wow. And now you know why I'm called the 10x sales guy. So yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, appreciate that. That couldn't have been easy. And those weren't easy times. And I guess we are going to talk about that, in later episodes as well.
We wanted to be together so much. Yes, we did get married. I moved to Delhi. But then marriage was a huge adjustment. No matter how much I loved you and how much you loved me, it wasn't easy. The first 2 years were, I think, the most tumultuous. And most difficult for me. Very, very difficult. Your mom, I think 3 months after we got married, I mean, she had surgery and could never walk again. And she was ill the whole time. It was very difficult for me because I used to take a short break to go and visit my grandmom or my parents. And almost every holiday in those 3 years, like every time I went gone down to my parents, it got interrupted because I had to cut short that holiday and come back,
Because some
or
emergency at home or something.
because there was
Yeah.
an emergency, at home. For someone like me who had never really experienced illness and sickness, then
Yeah.
to be living with it and then having to be a caregiver also, I didn't know how to do any of that. It was a marriage, completely new thing, new city, new family. Like, I'm a Bengali. Now I'm living, I've never lived with anyone. Like, since the age of 7, I've been in boarding
True
school,
that.
right?
Yeah.
And now I'm having to live with someone else's parents, different community. It's just that I loved you too much.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was tough, man. It
Yeah.
was tough. I mean, at the
Yeah.
new office,
Mhm.
it was news.
Yeah. So I think
It was difficult.
truly that was a difficult time, and which is why we again, we call this love roller coaster. So it was, we had our ups, we were, on our highs, all the way till the time, like the marriage happened, or just shortly after. But also, this is a time where there was a lot of trouble that was happening. Trouble in terms of financially, troubles in terms of my mom's health. We'd moved to a much smaller home in New Friends because of all the issues that were really happening. We were on one floor. Consortium was just starting as a company, so we had there was I mean, we're talking about Indrajit being there, Narinder being there, maybe Vinod being there, and my dad and myself, so 5 of us, and we took a small place in Bharatnagar, which if someday we get to and we show you it was like a small room, and that's where some of the factory staff who's there with us till today is still there. But it was a time of tremendous struggle. There was rejection, there was no money. And in the midst of all this, then there is, I'm kind of trying to play here now. I don't know, what would the role be? Like someone who's trying to just manage everyone. Like you
The
had,
juggler.
right? You had reservations. Mom may have had something to say. Dad may have had something to say. Work is kind of imploding. And I'm like, okay, I just need to keep all of this, together. So yeah, maybe a juggler just trying to keep it all together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was one of our tough times, and we are now talking about early 2000s and everything else, and it stayed that way. But eventually, I think we did pull through.
Yeah. But I did, yeah. And I maybe have been, the first years of marriage, I maybe wasn't looking at it from your perspective as much as I try to see things from your side, right? But at that time, I was like, where have I landed up?
Of course.
I was a bit in shock. I knew I'd made the right decision. And your family has always been really, really amazing. Though, it was a bit of I hate being told what to wear. I hate being told what to do. I mean, everybody knows that. And he especially knows that because it's like he never tells me what to do because he knows I'm going to push back really badly. But I think being told, like, wear jewelry, wear these clothes, and then having, like, being asked to wear bling when I was like really not bling, all these things was such a big deal at that time.
Sure.
Initially, the first few months was like, I didn't know what I was doing,
Yeah.
where I was. I mean, it was a bit of a
It was.
haze.
But I will tell you one funny story that did happen though. So one time, she'd come by to meet the family, and we were sitting down, to lunch, and so yeah, we're sitting down to lunch, and of course, we're all sitting down, we're eating,
Everyone-
and there's.
everyone
And of
was
course,
there.
she tells the story better. So I'm going to let her, tell the less things. So yeah, there's mom, there's dad, myself, and there's Mrinalini, and we're sitting down to
I
lunch,
think Nick
and
was also there.
perhaps Mick was there as
Yes,
well.
he was there.
Yeah.
The first time, right? Diwali.
Right, and it's a lunch, and why don't you tell them what really happened that time?
So, I mean, I love food. Everybody who knows me knows how much I love food. And it's the first time I'm actually interacting with his family. His whole family's there. And as usual, there was a lovely spread on the table. And there was chola, there was biryani, there was raita, there was bhaturas, there was like mutton curry, everything. And I piled my plate up nicely. And I'm talking away with them and I'm chatting away with them and I'm eating. And midway, I looked around and I see that everyone's finished their food and I have this full plate. I just stopped midway and just started eating. It was so embarrassing. And I was like, after we got out of there, I just told Gaurav, I said, your parents must be thinking of what a hog I am. I know I made a lot of changes. Like I changed everything to be with you. And I felt that all you had to do was just like give me space in your room because I was the one who made all the changes in my life. And everything was yours was the same. You just had me in your life. So how was it for you?
So I think some of the changes that may have happened that time is that maybe there were certain people that you weren't getting along with, and those are people that we started kind of not socializing with as much. Could have been some of the guys we would hang out with, not to an extent that they were cut off altogether because they never really felt that way. But I think there was kind of some degree of pushback over there. I think some of the girls I was hanging out with, they generally themselves only took a step back. So I don't know why. I mean, there was no reason for them to do that, but I think that's something that happened as well. And I think just trying to, and again, I would say this all the time that you made a lot more sacrifices than I did. I was still, powering on, trying to do what I was doing, living life like it was. I think you're the one who made a lot of the sacrifices. So I do appreciate that. But I think from my
It's not the
perspective,
sacrifice. I mean, maybe it's like
adjustments,
I had to
perhaps. Yeah, I
adjustments.
think the
It's not
adjustments is a better word.
sacrifice.
But well, I just think, from my perspective, it was just about managing the show in terms of, just managing everyone's expectations, just ensuring that, things are still moving forward. I think that was a big one. But yeah, I think the only thing that happened is certain friends moved out,
Yeah, so
for,
the dynamics start changing, right? When
right.
you have when you get a partner,
Mm,
then sometimes you're with people who you're not very spiritually aligned with, but you're just hanging out with them because it's fun and everything else. But when a partner comes into it, their dynamics changes everything. So if you
True.
don't have friends with the same sort of mindset, who will accept your partner, then it becomes a little, then you find like everyone who gets married, there's a bit of a shuffle in their relationships, right?
Sure.
Because everyone who comes in will bring a whole new environment and a whole new energy with them.
Yeah.
And that changes everything around you.
True that. Yeah, but like I said, no regrets. There was it was a process at the time. I think we had to really go through that. And going further, like for the episode, this is like the backstory, right? This is the one in terms of which talk about how we really got together, the fun times, with a little bit of seriousness, towards the end also. But just know this: that in future episodes, we are going to be talking about things on relationship, with food, with money, displacement of anger, a lot of things. So I hope you did like this particular episode, and just do drop in your comments in terms of what you really thought, what you'd like to see more of. It's just an evolving thing, and the love roller coaster, like I said, we have our ups, we have our downs. But in the end, we hope to still keep it all together.
Yeah, this is probably the only episode we're going to talk so much about each other. The other episodes are going to be much more interesting, and we're going to have really interesting topics that will benefit everyone, right?
Yeah, and just know this, that we're still figuring it out, right? No one's perfect, and we still have our up days and our down days and everything else. So it's a process, and hopefully we, like I said, we figure this out together. In case there's something that you'd like to discuss, in case you want to be a guest on this podcast, okay, feel free to come in. We might have a special guest in a few weeks, who might talk about parents. If there's someone who's we don't know too much about like the dating apps and the Tinder generation and all that. You want to come and talk about that? Hey, bring that as well. Talk about money. I mean, anything. Just like I said, drop it in the comments, drop it in the chat. You want to be on, drop us a message as well. We'd love to make this, a longer, more exclusive conversation as well. And just remember, you're going to have your ups, you're going to have your downs, but then love truly is a roller coaster.